been melting away. We've been lying on the shore for a while, and our song is still you are the sea. Is a
My name is Dr. Sue Morrison, and today I'm interviewing Rachel Kelly, and the project is the Sandend Save Our Beach campaign. Rachel, for the record, would you please confirm your name and your age, please?
My name is Rachel Kelly and I'm 44 years old.
Thank you. Would you please explain your connection with Sandend?
I've been going to Sandend since I was a small baby, 3-month-old baby. My parents bought a cottage there in around about 1970, and I went there for every single holiday up until my teens, and have gone frequently as an adult.
What are your first memories of Sandend?
One of my first memories is of going over the braes at Sandend over to Seagull City, which is known locally where all the seagulls live in their nests, on my own on an expedition, and my big brother having to come and look for me. I think I was about 3. Obviously I have lots of memories of the beach. I seem to remember it being eternally summer, or during the summer eternal sunshine. I remember going to the beach and on the way going to the wee shop and getting candy floss and ice lollies at the Winfield's shop, and going to the beach, spending days on the beach in the summer with my mum and my siblings and my dad.
Would you describe the beach for me?
It's a golden beach, I would say, because there's different colours of beaches up there very close to each other. The next beach along is Sunnyside Beach, and that's a white beach, and then in Cullen you've got Pink Beach. So I think of Sandend as the golden beach. One big feature of it for me as a kid, although I'm not sure if I entirely properly understood why they were there, were the blocks, although I probably did ask. I was quite a curious kid. The blocks that were put there in the Second World War to prevent the Germans invading, I think, from Norway. They were worried the Germans were going to invade. And the gun houses as well, they were quite good fun to go in as a kid. And I think teenagers did bad things in there when they, I wouldn't know. When we were teenagers, it used to be a good place to hide out. There was another gun house on the road, but I think that had been sealed off to stop people going in. So that's something I really do remember about the beach. But just endless days of sunshine, absolute happiness, really. Any song from the early 80s just reminds me of being on that beach. I used to have to get dragged back in the car at the end of the summer. I remember once my mum, who is not a short-tempered lady, but she'd put me in a nice dress, well, not necessarily a nice dress, but just a dress, and she'd packed everything away, and I was climbing on the rocks on the stony beach as usual, and I'm touch wood, I'm really sure-footed, and I'm still sure-footed going across rocks, still really confident because I was doing that since I was absolutely tiny up at Sandend. And I remember just going into the water and getting a big row, falling into a rock pool. But I hated leaving Sandend in the summer, absolutely hated it. I used to love going in October, probably when I was maybe more when I was a teenager and a bit more sitting listening to depressing music phase. And I used to love going in October when it was dark and you could see all the stars and it just was basically dark all the time. And saw the Northern Lights on one occasion. Went to the phone box a la local hero and phoned my friend Zoe, who still pulls me up about this 30 years later. How dare you phone me and say you're seeing the Northern Lights when I can't see them? But I did the whole local hero thing and phoned from because at that time in the 80s you could phone from the phone box. You maybe still can phone from phone boxes, just that nobody does, but that's what you did. So that's an amazing memory. And I remember John Smith and Albert Sutherland telling us that they had worked on fishing boats, and obviously you can see You can see the northern lights much better when you're out at sea because there's no artificial lights, but them saying that those northern lights were some of the best that they'd ever seen, so we were very lucky. Also, what seemed to become a feature when I was a teenager, although they must have been around, were the Moray Firth Dolphins. I remember seeing them for the first time, and that was amazing. And every time I see them, it's the same thrill. I don't think that ever gets old. Saw them a few years back. There was lots of apparently there was lots of mackerel. Well, actually, my friend Rob caught a few of those mackerel that the dolphins didn't get, so they were in the bay feeding on those. And I also went on to I studied tourism, and I did my dissertation about the dolphins up there. So that was great.
Could you see them from the beach?
Yes, you can see them from the beach quite often, I think. I don't know if there's somebody stationed at Sandend, but I know that the centre at Spey Bay for the dolphin research has people stationed along the coast to look out for the dolphins. They do make their way along, so you'll see them quite frequently. And people have seen whales, I'm sure, as well, from there. You know.
What did you do on the beach?
I swam in the sea, I sunbathed, I made sandcastles. I'm the youngest by quite a long way, so I've spent a lot of the time getting buried by my older siblings up to my neck, and as they like to do. As a teenager, we had parties on the beach with bonfires, which was great. Just sat on it and looked out to sea as well often as a teenager, and doing that puts things into perspective often as well. I wasn't one for water sports. I think I've played on a boogie board once. There were people surfing. I remember people coming in the 80s with t-shirts saying Sandend Surf City, so it was known even at that time as a surf place. I know it's grown now, but there was people frequently surfing there. I went out on a boat once, on a holiday maker's boat out into the bay, so saw the beach from that side as well. But there was always a lot of people doing water sports and had boats and canoes and were surfing.
Did you have any picnics on the beach?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that every time we went to the beach, as I said, I remember going to get ice lollies and candy floss, but I'm sure my mum that's the food I remember, as you do from being a kid. But I'm sure that my mum took more sensible items like sandwiches sometimes as well. So yeah, probably every day during the summer. I did say to my mum, am I imagining it used to be sunny pretty much every day? And she went, no, because she was an adult and it was, and the weather's just it's a microclimate there really. So yeah, every day on the beach.
Is there anything else you want to say about the beach before I talk about the campaign?
In terms of what?
Anything? Favourite memories, favourite story?
Oh, well, one of my favourite stories about that beach is that one of the big features of that area, in fact I think there's a dark sky park not far from there, is the night sky. You can see the Milky Way really clearly. And I remember, well, a couple of things I remember. I do remember meteor showers and making a midnight feast for me and my friend. The midnight feast consisted of wham bars, and she'd come to my house and throw stones at my window, and we would sneak out and see these, but I slept right through. I'm sure I've seen them on other occasions. I have seen them on other occasions. But I remember also, I think this is as an adult, definitely as an adult, I was walking along the beach, actually got off the beach and onto the road, and we looked back and we saw a meteorite fall out the sky. Went and looked for it the next day, but I don't think you could probably distinguish it very easily from another rock. So if anybody's a geologist, they might want to go. It might still be there, very end of the beach. Saw a falling star. That was quite special. Another special moment.
There are talks of Sandend becoming the landfall for the offshore wind farm. What are your feelings about that?
I feel it's completely, well, it's the wrong place for that. It's, for one thing, and the main thing is it's the home to, it's a lot of people's home, and it's home to people who in a lot of cases are descended from people who have worked in that village and worked in the fishing industry and the oil industry. And this is just one aspect. Obviously it's important for everybody who's home, no matter how long they've lived there, they've chosen that as their home. But one thing that I think is important to remember is that people lived and worked there and worked in very dangerous jobs. They were out fishing for us or for our forefathers to have food, and I think maybe is it not appropriate for their descendants to have their village left intact and have a nice beautiful place and not have that encroaching upon it. That's one thing that I think. Also, I mean, people might say that's a bit sentimental, and they might say what I've said earlier on is all sentimental, that I'm waxing lyrical about my childhood. But if you want to look at it from, well, in my opinion, from a pragmatic point of view, in the future, tourism is going to be a very important thing because people will have much more leisure time. And the people up there will need jobs. The oil industry isn't going to be there forever. Who knows what's going to happen with the fishing industry? They're going to need jobs and a livelihood. So the place is just full of things that people value in terms of tourism. There's the beach. The beaches around there, which is something people have always valued. There's the night sky. There's the wildlife tourism. There's the water sports, there's the heritage, there's the whiskey distillery up the road. It's just from an economic point of view, what would you be doing in risking that future for that village? But back to the purely sentimental, a lot of people would say it's a beautiful place. Why are we destroying our beautiful places? What's the point in us carrying on? What's the point in renewables if we're not going to have beautiful places? And particularly beautiful places that people live and have businesses in, and will hopefully continue to have businesses. And it seems there's likelihood that they will have businesses that will thrive and grow in somewhere like Sandend. So why ruin it? Why ruin all that for the future? So that's.
Do you think there's been enough consultation from the company?
From what I've seen, obviously I don't live there. I live down in Glasgow, so I'm quite removed from it. I've seen that there has been, but they've had to consult with the local population. They have to do it by law. So I've yet to see the report of the meeting about that. It seems that the latest thing is that they might move it, but Sandend might still be included, so it seems that that's a bit unclear at the moment, the latest thing I've seen on the campaign page. So
some of the people that I've interviewed are concerned about the access road, if there are big lorries coming up and down it. What do you think to that?
Well, I think there's obviously there's going to be concerns both for elderly people in the village and for young people in the village, for young families with children, as regards that, and also the noise pollution, the risk to people's the structure of people's houses from that. There's also, there's the fish sheds. There's that kind of business. Would that pollute that? And obviously it's going to be off-putting for tourists as well. So, yeah.
Anything else you would like to add?
Just please don't do it there. Please don't do it. I know that these things have to be done. So we're told. I'm not an expert on these things, that these things will be an improvement on the sources of energy that we have, but surely it's counterintuitive to do that at the expense of a beautiful landscape and at the expense of the future sustainable livelihood of the people of the coast as well, and also of the wildlife, the sustainability of the wildlife as well. I mean, I don't know what impact it might have on the wildlife, but I'm presuming it might have an impact on on the wildlife of the area.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, the day has been melted